Hello and welcome to Student Hub Live. My name's HJ, I'm an OU graduate, and normally you'll find me in the Student Hub Live chat. If you've joined us before, you will notice that Karen is not here. She's actually spending her time working on a new and exciting OU module, so she knows we've got a lot planned for Student Hub and wishes that we all have a fantastic time, which I know we will. So we know it's an exciting time getting ready to start our new modules this weekend. And what we thought we'd do today is revisit some of our favourite Student Hub Live sessions to help get our studies off to a great start. Now, some of the amazing guests that joined us for the original sessions will also be joining us in the chat, and they'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, questions, and top tips on the discussion. But as always with Student Hub Live, we're not too serious when it comes to the chat. So if, like me, you like to talk about your favourite study snacks, I've been on the Welsh cakes this morning, or what your plans are for the summer, that's always good as well. Now, when we are chatting, sometimes it can get busy, but we've got a pin button in the top right hand corner. And if you click that, rather than automatically scrolling through, it lets you go through the chat at your own pace. Lots of people have been in the chat this morning introducing themselves. I know there's a lot of people doing DD 102, which is an excellent module. I studied it myself, including Georgia and Elizabeth. Charlotte's going to have a treat with Y033. It's a fantastic module. One of my friends did it and it did look really fascinating. And I know lots of us are nervous today, but I know there's a lot of top tips and assurances we can give you, because I know from my journey that it's normal to be nervous. It shows that we care about what we're doing, and it's something that we can harness to do well in our studies. Now, joining us in the chat today is Jamie Ireland. He'll be here throughout the session. Jamie's an OU student himself, so he also knows what it's like. And Jamie's a senior advisor at the Open University. So there's lots he can answer for us, and I'm sure he'd love you to ask your questions. Now, you'll see to your left-hand side, we've got some widgets that ask you where you're hailing from and what you're studying. There's people hailing from all over, which is absolutely fantastic. We've got Leanne from a dull and overcast Norfolk. We've got Samantha joining from London, Georgia from South Africa, and Alexandra from Northwest England. I'm joining from a bit of a mild Wales today, but I'm sure it will brighten up, and Student Hub Live always makes me feel a bit brighter. Now, alongside our fantastic guests in the chat, also joining me this morning is Nick Barrett. Nick, would you like to introduce ourselves and maybe let us know what you're excited about now we're starting our modules officially this weekend?
Oh, HJ, thanks so much for that introduction. And hello, everybody. It's fantastic that you've joined the OU for another round of modules, or possibly for the first time. My role here is Director of Learner and Discovery Services. And basically, my teams design and produce all of the learning experiences, hopefully, that you're going to enjoy and find really important, as well as a range of support services as well. Now, there's always a buzz around the OU when new students join us. But I guess I have a special excitement because I'm also a tutor as well. And I know just how nervous some people can be when they first get started. But actually, after the first couple of sessions and the first engagement with the materials, I mean, it's amazing what you're going to do. So yeah, we've got a range of ways that we can help you with your studies. We've got help desks. The library is a fantastic resource. They've got engagement sessions. They can help you with their study, a range of digital skills. And don't forget, as well as your tutorials and your support that you're going to get from real people like myself, there are also other resources that the OU provides. And OpenLearn, it's an incredible free resource with other resources to help you just get started, or if you've got a bit stuck, to get you moved on again. So that's what we do in Learner and Discovery Services, and hopefully are here just to help make your learning as fun and exciting as possible.
Oh, I'm sure for everyone, we're really excited. I mean, there's loads of people studying DD100, DD102, Y032, and they're all fantastic modules. And like you said, there's loads of avenues for support as well, whether it's from your own tutor, from using the library services, and we will hear about them a little more later. So, Nick, what's something that you would recommend as a new student, maybe a top tip or something maybe you would have liked to know when you were starting out studying?
I think there's a couple, if I can tweak the question a little bit. The
Yeah,
first
of
is
course.
to get to know the students on your module. I mean, you're going to meet some amazing people who are probably as passionate as you are about your subject area. So you're not on your own. There are other people in the same boat, and you're going to have great fun making new friends, learning from each other as well. So build that support group. And the other address is find out who else is around the OU on modules you might want to think about working on next. There's a brilliant student association, and they can help you not just with your studies, but with some of the social aspects of learning. So a couple of tips there, but you're going to make some great friends. When I do my tutoring, those tutorials are where I guess the course comes alive. It's one thing working through the learning material, another thing discussing it and tackling some of those problems or getting excited together about some of the insights you might have got. So those, I think, are some of the best moments, and building that group of people that you can talk to is really important.
Oh, fantastic. I think that's something that we'll definitely take up. And I know Student Hub Live is a great forum for people to meet each other and build a community as well. But there's lots of other avenues, isn't there, like tutorials and forums, and of course, the Students Association, which we'll hear a bit more about in one of our sessions. So I'm really glad that you said that, because I think that's something that I'd agree with as well. Definitely build a community, get to know your fellow students. So it's not often that we see faces behind all these names on the book. So, Nick, before we let you go, what does the rest of your day look like working in the OU?
Well, I guess in many ways it's a bit similar to some of the challenges you're going to face as students. You know, the day job now is working from home, as you can see behind me. Um, it's about lots of meetings, but I think what we do now, and particularly after today, is always think about, what would it mean if we did this for our students? So we will be talking a lot about your experiences. And so that's why we need your input to help change some of the ways we do things at the OU. So it's a two-way conversation. So lots of meetings, I'm afraid, but a lot of them will be about how we design better learning experiences for you, how we get material out to you quicker, how we can provide more research services for you and get you supported. So hopefully it does tie into the rest of your experience at the OU.
Ah, excellent. Well, I'm so glad you've joined us today, Nick. As always, it's great to see a friendly face from the Open University. There's always friendly faces, but it's good to see someone as well. And all the best for the rest of your day. And yeah, thank you for joining us. So, we've logged on to our OU website and there is a lot there. Now, it can be a bit overwhelming, but all of it is helpful, I assure you. So, in this session that we're revisiting, we're going to have a look at some tips for navigating your way around the OU website and some essentials as well that we'll be showing you. Joining me in the chat from the session are Tammy, Mark, and Leanne from the Students Association, and they love to answer your thoughts, comments, and questions. And also joining in the chat as well is Catherine Moore, who's a learning and teaching librarian. So there's lots of great advice that we'll see in this session. Let us know your thoughts, comments, and questions.
Good morning, everybody, and a big warm welcome to you all. Welcome to Student Hub Live. My name's Karen Foley, and I'm a lecturer at the OU. And here I am in sunny Pembrokeshire, broadcasting from my home with my lovely dogs in the background, who are hopefully going to be very well behaved, to you guys who are all over the shop. And it's great to see so many of you here. Here is a chance just to get a sense of some of the people behind the scenes who are here to support you in your learning. So I'm joined by Fiona from the library, and I've got Tammy, who's going to talk to us about the virtual learning environment. She's in our learning design service team. Leanne White is here. Leanne's a student, and she is from the Open University Students Association. And I have Mark, who's from our IT department, who's going to give us some great hacks. They always go down really, really well. And it's very important when you're learning online to feel secure online as well. So we're going to be talking to these wonderful people here about some of the services. And as I said before, we've got lots of colleagues from our student support team. We'll be covering some of those off in the chat today. So, finding your way around, let's have a little round robin then, in terms of one thing for each of you who are all in different offices across the OU. What is important to finding your way around? Sarah, let's start with you. What do you think is most important? Oh, sorry, Leanne. I knew I would do this. You know, I've written a wrong name down on my piece of paper, and I was saying I'm so bad with names, and I'm very, very literal. So do forgive me, Leanne. Sorry. I was saying before, where's Sarah?
Finding your way around. I think for me, it was just clicking on everything and just seeing where it took me and where does this lead and where does this lead. And I think really that's, for a lot of students, that is the best way to find your way around and find what's happening.
So you didn't sort of feel any massive pressure about where to start. You just had a little look and tried to navigate things in a way that felt right for you.
Well, I'm a very, I'll say inquisitive, not nosy, because it's a nicer word. I'm a very inquisitive person. So for me, it was just all about what's happening here and how do I find out about this. And but I understand for other students, you know, it can be scary trying to do that. But for me, it was all about just exploring, really.
Oh, brilliant. Well, that's the main thing, and that's very important. Tammy, what would you say? Would you say exploring is important?
Yeah, especially when you land on your module website to explore your way around, go through the study planner, work through what's in there week by week. There's tabs at the top. So you've got your assessment tab where all your assessment dates are. Go have a look at that. Take some notes on when your assessments are coming up. Then another good place to go to on the VLE is there's a tab called Forums. If you go into there, what you'll normally find is your tutors, your ALs have put in a welcome forum there, so you can go and introduce yourself to the rest of the people on your tutor group. Really great place to start, and then just click around. So in theory, I'm talking about the module website, but go and have a look around. You're not going to break anything. And if you need to go back, you just click on, say, for example, if you're studying A111, A1111, just click on the home button, go back to the planner. You're not going to break anything. It's really simple, but yeah, go have a look at your assessment dates, go say hello to people in the forums, and go book yourself on your first tutorial.
Brilliant.
And yeah.
All very important. And we're going to show you in a little while some of those key spaces. So Tammy will talk us through those key tabs, but you can't get lost if you go and have a look around. But those are the most sort of important things to think about. And we'll go through those in a little bit more detail, won't we, Tammy?
Yep.
Perfect. Excellent. So Mark, what do you think the most important thing is then about finding your way around from, I guess, an IT perspective?
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, taking things at your own pace. Never panic when it comes to things, anything related to IT, cybersecurity, information security. It seems very daunting and overwhelming, but don't be daunted. Yeah, that's the key. Yeah, we've got some fantastic support pages that we have available to you. So I'd say one of the first things you can do is go to our safe and secure computing pages, and we have that across our help guides on the internet for you. So if you log on there, and you can save that as a favorite link so you can refer back to it whenever you need it. So it's always a little resource there to look back on. It gives you all the essential hints and tips you need to know what to do, regardless of the situation you face, whether it be directly IT related or whether it be something like a cybersecurity concern or worry about an email you might have received, whether or not it's legitimate, and to just not panic, really. Yeah, navigate to that, and then it'll put your mind at ease. I'll tell you that. I mean, I did that, from a staff perspective as well when I first started. It's just taking your time, taking everything in, and getting used to your new surroundings.
Excellent. So repetitive advice here about not panicking, not breaking things, and just having an explore around. And we'll talk a little bit more in detail again, Mark, about how we might do that. Fiona, last but by no means least, what would you say is really important for students in terms of finding your way around?
Well, if you want to find your way around the library, we've got a library website. Got an image of it here somewhere. And it's got a great big blue search box on the home page, and you can't miss it. And as Tammy says, you can't break it. So why not try typing something in that interests you? I suggest something like owl or dinosaur. Just see what you get. We have lots of stuff in the library. There's music, e-books, journals, newspapers, British standards, maps. It's an amazing variety of things, all in order to help you when you're writing your assignments. We do, in fact, have a real library in Milton Keynes. People sometimes ask us about that, and this is the entrance to the library in Milton Keynes. Sadly, it's closed to the public at the moment, but in happier times, it is open to anybody who wants to come in and have a look at it. And it's a lovely building, and people are very welcome once the pandemic's over and better times are here.
Brilliant. And people are talking about how lovely my wall is. Well, I just think your books are so neatly filed. What system have you used there?
By size, actually.
That's very unlibrarian-like and very disappointing. Well, I think if we should go to the library and Google healthy alternatives than toast for lunch, because Victoria says HJ's had sneaky toast. What about cake? HJ is well known for eating his cake. And Laura's had toast for lunch too, HJ. So you're not alone, but she is the only one who's mentioned it so far, I'll be honest. Okay. So let's take a look around. Now, Tammy, let's start with the VLE, which is our virtual learning environment. One of the things we spoke a little bit about this morning was all these various acronyms, and VLE, virtual learning environment, is one of them, but it is perhaps the most important. And I'm going to invite Leanne to sort of talk about this, because Leanne sort of had an approach of looking her way around, so she might have some advice as well. But Tammy is, I guess, our sort of technical guru in terms of design, and is sort of going to show us a little bit around, and also she's going to give us some hints and tips that you may not be able to read about, because of course there are other ways you can find out this information, but I always think it's really nice to see and have someone talk through and tell me the bits that may not be published in the various books and other induction sites. So Tammy, what's the most important thing about the VLE, and tell us what you're going to show us.
Okay, so let's see if I can get a screenshot on the screen, because so you can see what I'm talking about in terms of the study planner. So this is a landing page. This is your module landing page. Yes, this is E111 or E111, which is great to see. I think from what Karen was saying, there's loads of A111 students around. So purely by chance had I selected this website. But if this isn't your website, don't worry. I think what you should be able to tell is that they're very similar. If you're doing DD100 or you're doing A111 or S111, the structure of your module website is very, very similar. So when you're looking at the study planner, so here's another one that's annotated, so this should help a bit more. There are things on the study planner to help you find your way around. So if we're talking finding your way around, you've got all your weeks in your planner. So the module team, when they're writing their modules, they think about breaking it down into little chunks for you. It's a bit like Mark was saying, don't get overwhelmed with everything that's there. Take it week by week, break it down, have a look at it. There are things on there. We've got tick boxes to help you track your progress so that you know where you are. I'd be interested from Leanne to know whether you've used those on the VLE. You've also got your tutor contact details. You've got quick links to your tutorials when you've booked them, quick links to all your assessment dates. And then there's some little tricks at the bottom. You can export your key dates to your Outlook calendar if you've got one, Google Calendar. You can print them out. And yeah, there's a lot on that page just to help you get started.
Brilliant. So that's a really great talk through about some of those key things. So Leanne, tell us, did you use some of those various aspects, and did you like that tick box and sort of progress bar?
I did. I absolutely love the VLE. I love the way it's designed. I think it is brilliant the way it lays out week by week exactly what needs to be what you should be working on that week. I love the progress bar. I actually find the progress bar very motivating. Yeah, I get quite excited when I can tick something off and I can see the percentage going up. And I think with the bars across the top for where your tutorials are and resources and the forums, I think it's laid out in such a way that it's not that difficult to navigate your way around. And as I say, I'm a big fan of the VLE. So
it is the most important place. And I think, I mean, OU modules, they vary so much. Some of them you'll get a stack of books. Some of them you won't get any books. It'll be all online. There's a real sort of difference in terms of how different modules are taught. But the one thing in particular, I know there are lots of DD 102 students, when you get those books and you think, oh gosh, there's lots to be reading, it's really important that you look at that module website, because that says, and now go and read this chapter or that chapter. And it makes sense of all of the material. So just reading books, if you have a nice stack of books, is only part of the equation. It's really important that you read that so that you know what to focus on, how much to do, and perhaps there are other activities or things there, in addition to many other spaces to connect with other people. So Tammy, have you got more to tell us?
Okay, so I'm just thinking, so some modules will only have books and the VLE website to guide you through it. Other modules are all online. So all the teaching takes place on the module website. You click through into your learning and teaching material, and the teaching is done in web pages, and you've got videos, you've got quizzes, you've got activities that you need to do. And I know when you think of it all being online and you're thinking, oh, what am I going to do if I'm not online all the time, or I need to take this away, or I want to look at it in a different environment other than just on my laptop. Well, you can also download all of that content. There's various ways of downloading the content. So you can take it in PDF format. You can take it in we export the content to Mobi, which is for Kindle, EPUB, which is for standard ebook readers, and Word documents as well, if that helps you. So once you've downloaded them, you can use them offline, you can annotate them, you can print them out. So if you're thinking, wow, I have to be online all the time and I have to sit in front of my computer screen all the time, if you don't have books, there are a range of different alternatives there for you to pick up and use.
Excellent. So the virtual learning environment, or VLE, sort of houses these aspects, but you don't, as Tammy says, have to be online all the time. In fact, when I did my OU study, I spent a lot of time by swimming pools and at various ballet lessons, having a little read on my tablet of my devices. And it can be really great to know that you can download and take those. But also, as Tammy says, those additional formats can be really useful for other reasons. I know that some students have said they really like using a PDF reader so that it reads stuff aloud to them. Other people like annotating things. I like using a PDF to find certain words. So, for example, if I'm writing an assignment on something, I can search for particular words, and then I might find content that relates to it that perhaps allows me to think in a different way. Or if you're in a blind panic, at least you can sort of find some relevant content in your module materials. So they're not just there to be able to work online, but it's worth thinking about those additional resources. So we're going to cover some of these main areas, and I want to start with what I think is one of the most important people. So I'm going to talk to Leanne about this, and this is the associate lecturer or your tutor. For people who are brand new, of which we have many today, and those of you who have studied with the OU, perhaps you might fill people in on your experiences with your tutor and how you've made the most of their relationship. But Leanne, tell us a little bit about how you found working with your tutor, and you know how it's been different in each module that you've done.
Excuse me. My first module, I was absolutely terrified of contacting my tutor, I'll be honest. At the beginning, I thought, oh, I don't want to bother them, or they're not going to want to hear from me. And it was after the first TMA, and I got the feedback, and I thought, no, I'm going to send an email. So I sent an email to my tutor, and I felt that once I'd got that first contact out of the way, and she was ever so kind with her response, I sort of felt more and more confident in reaching out to her throughout the module, and it made me feel that I wasn't alone, whereas before I'd sort of felt very isolated. But I suddenly felt that I wasn't doing this on my own, and I did have somebody in there to support me. And it was very much the same with my second tutor on my second module, but I was much more confident to sort of go in straight away and sort of send an introduction and say, hi, this is me. And yeah, and again, it was sort of a relationship that was built up. I think there's often a worry students are going to feel that they are overburdening their tutor or they're contacting them too much. Tutors want you to do well, and I think a lot of students forget that sometimes. You know, it's what tutors are there for. They want to support you, they want you to do well, and they're there for a reason, so don't be scared to make use of them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think sometimes the fact that somebody's going to be marking your work and providing feedback can be a little bit daunting at times, but that person is really there to sort of help develop and grow you and work with those experiences. And I think that one of the important things as well is to take on board some feedback that may be about improving particular things, but also when your tutor says that you're doing something really well, to take that on board, because it's much easier to keep doing the stuff you're doing well than it is to correcting things. And sometimes we forget some of the stuff we do well, and we don't sort of take that in our stride and feel confident and perform as well as we can at those particular bits. I think that's also really important as well.
Hello and welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that session. It was good to get sort of a brief overview of what's available to you when you enter your student home and all the areas. I know we only did a brief overview. There's lots more on there, but I think as we said in the session, you can't break anything. So do have a look at round, click on whatever you would like to, and just explore it, because I'm sure you'll find lots that will help you. And as you progress through your study journey, you'll see that there's lots more than you thought. So I agree with Leanne in the session that the progress bar is my favorite thing. Michelle said it in the chat as well. It's the tick box and the progress bar. It's just really nice. It's nice to tick things off, know that you've finished something, and you can see that progress bar creep up as you reach the end of the module. And we also learned as well, I didn't know this, that you can export your study calendar as well and kind of merge your online calendars together. I think that's really good for organization. Jamie said it was very useful for him as he works and studies at the same time. So maybe I'll give that a go. I always pick up all these good things from Student Hub Live that I need to try out myself. So we'll see how that goes. So we asked you in the chat what you're studying, and there are lots of different modules that we are studying. I know Christine's from Sheffield doing A113 and A1111. We're doing Y032. We're studying psychology, law, English literature, science, sociology, engineering, society, economics, creative writing, arts and humanities, health and classical studies. And, you know, although we're studying all these different things, the great thing is we're all Open University students. We're in a community together, and I know we're all supportive of each other and want us all to do well. And I know we will. So I know myself when we're starting out modules, it could be really nerve-wracking. It was nerve-wracking for me each time I did a module, no matter how many I was doing. So what I like to think is that nerves is something of a good sign. It means we care about something and care about doing well. So I know we were talking in the chat earlier about us being nervous, but that's okay. It's normal. It's a good sign. So we thought we'd revisit one of our sessions, Being a Confident Learner, which gives us some tips and advice about how we can overcome our nerves, use it as a strength, and become confident. In this session, you'll see Rachel and Jackie, who are also joining me in the chat today. And Rachel and Jackie would love to hear your thoughts, comments, questions, and top tips for being a confident learner.
So let me introduce you to my panel. I have Ola, who is a staff tutor and works in our sport and fitness team, Rachel, who is Director of Teaching and works in psychology, and Jackie, who is in our careers and employment services. And she knows heaps and heaps of stuff and is also involved with our carers network as well. So let's start by thinking about this notion of confidence, okay? It's something that I hear many students talking about. Jackie, let's start with your sort of experience. Is this something that you hear very regularly? And what do you think this whole notion of confidence is all about, really?
Yeah, I mean, I speak to a lot of students who have just started the studying or kind of coming through the study and feeling that if they've been out of study for a long time, that they don't feel confident about what they're doing. But I think it's really important to kind of reflect on all the other things that you've done in your life and sort of think about the skills and the strengths and the things that you're good at in all the other areas of your life as well. So there's we do that quite a lot in the careers team and talk to people sort of working through, well, if you've been out of study for a while, you might have been raising a family, you might have been working, you might have been doing all kinds of other things, and there's lots of strengths and things that we can help you identify from that. But there's also, in terms of confidence, I think the key thing is we're not either confident or not confident. It might be that we're kind of confident in some situations but not in others. So it can be really good to reflect on where we do feel good and try and bring that through to study and other parts.
Absolutely. Because I think it's one of the things that I often hear you and your colleagues talking about is that OU students develop so many skills, like being able to juggle all of these family commitments and do an assignment and keep up to speed with their reading. So their time management skills are excellent, prioritization, being able to articulate things, all of these sort of things that we often don't give ourselves credit for are really important. But while we can feel very confident maybe sorting out the family lunches or, organising certain things, sometimes applying those things to other areas can feel hard because they're so new. So we don't often think that we can do them, maybe.
But it really is about kind of transferring, and being proud and being, really pleased about what you can do in other bits of your life and thinking, yeah, I am really organised. I can sort of manage the family, get to work, maybe care for an elderly parent. Perhaps you've got an ongoing illness that you manage, or there'll be kind of skills that you've got from all those different things, and it really can be transferred across. Because if you're thinking about your study, it's about, like Karen said, about being organised, about maybe planning your time, about kind of being able to ask for help. Maybe there's different skills that you would have got from all of those different areas that you can definitely bring into study.
Absolutely. We'll come back to you for some more tips on that, Jackie, in just a minute. But before I do that, let's get to Rachel's thoughts, because Rachel sort of, I guess, brings some psychology to the whole discussion, really. Rachel, what do you have to say about confidence? And in particular, I guess, this notion that Jackie's talking about doing new stuff.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I totally agree with what Jackie's been saying about transferable skills and recognizing when you have those transferable skills. And at the same time, I think we all know that when we're starting a new job, when we are starting a new hobby, we don't feel confident right on day one. And that's okay, because there's a lot to get used to, and there's new ways of working, or there's new techniques to build things to become familiar with. So I think when you are feeling that lack of confidence at the start, recognizing that that's really normal, it's almost part of the process, really, as you start to increase your familiarity with your surroundings, with the ways of doing things, with what's expected of you, as well as what you expect of the new thing you're doing. So actually that giving yourself time and recognizing that that's okay, that's normal, that's that's how things have always been when you've started something new, and it is true for most people most of the time. And actually, as you start to explore the websites, as you start to read your books, as you start to interact with other students, ask questions of your tutors, the familiarity will start to build and you'll start to feel more settled. And so that's just a really normal process for us. So the fact that you don't feel confident right on day one, that's the norm. That's not unusual. And so take comfort in that. And, you know, and the fact that when you speak to other students, most of them will share that same nervousness, that you're stepping up to something new and you're getting used to something new. And so that's normal. That's to be expected. And you won't stay in that place for the whole module. So I think also knowing that this is like the first few weeks, it's the first bit, that is also reassuring as well, I think, for a lot of students.
Absolutely. But Ola, I wonder what you've got to say about some of this, and perhaps sort of from, I guess, a sports perspective around things like, you know, how we can often feel those nerves perhaps at the start of something, and we need to sort of keep going with those. And also, I think you've got some advice a little bit later about how students may get some support for some of this as well.
Yeah, thank you. Just to add to what Rachel and Jackie have mentioned, it's interesting the points they've made, because it's similar to what I was saying in my talking points, that I would always say to students or to anybody starting something new that and again, it's this thing, try and be positive as much as you can be. And also, as Jackie, Rachel has said, don't allow things to be overwhelming. So don't get overwhelmed at the fact that you are lacking confidence, that I am a bit nervous, because quite frankly, you're doing a new thing. You're supposed to feel nervous. You're supposed to feel anxious about it. I will say it's quite unnatural for somebody to say, I'm going into this new job and I'm going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, because you don't know what that new job is yet. You know, all the skills that you think might work actually may not work. So you're trying to tread carefully, walk, and then pick up stuff. But for students coming in from any kind of background, maybe, for example, and I'll use myself as an example. I went back into higher education as a mature student after about 10 years of not doing any kind of reading or any kind of academic work. But here I am today as an AL and also as a staff tutor. So there is the passage of where you can get to has been trodden by so many people before. And I would say to students, there's one key thing you would love to do at the OU that you need to do, is to build real and very positive relationships with your associate lecturer, but your tutor, because we are here to help you on your journey from A all the way to Z. We're not here to pass judgment on whether you have come from this background, whether you got 5 GCSEs or you haven't got any A levels. That is irrelevant to us. We are here to help you on your way. So first, I would say the first thing you should do is when your tutor contacts you, email them back, phone them back, text them back, start to build that relationship. And this is the key thing as an AO that we say to ourselves: never be afraid to ask that so-called stupid question. There isn't such a thing as a stupid question, because as we're saying, everybody in that particular tutorial, in your tutor group, either on a WhatsApp group, are most likely thinking of that same question. And if none of you ask that question, then none of you are aware of what you need to know to move forward. So don't be afraid to ask that question, because the tutors are not going to use that and think, oh, but what a stupid question. It's not. It's a question that you needed to know because you don't have that information. If you don't speak, if you don't tell us what the problems are, we cannot help you. And that then starts to knock your confidence even more. So I would implore anybody today who is either saying they're suffering from anxiety or depression or mental health thing, to seek that support either from their support systems at home, or as it stands now, the other support system you have is the OU. So the student support team, they are absolutely great. I can say that from an AL perspective. And also, as an AL, we are a great support mechanism as well for students. So please speak to us. Tell us what's going on. So if we can't help you, we can signpost you to the team who can help you. And in that way, your confidence starts to get better. The only thing that does knock confidence back is the fact that you feel you're in the wilderness and there is no support. But if you don't say anything and you're in silence, there is, and that's where the isolation gets even worse, because things then get worse and worse. So please, 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 contact your AL, contact the student support team, use the support mechanisms around you. That's the greatest thing. That is the greatest ally actually you do have as a student.
Absolutely. Laura says, thanks for a great session, everyone, and your kind words. We've got this. And Cassie says, just knowing that people have the same worries makes me feel so much better. Yeah, we do like coming together and sharing some of our worries. And it can be so reassuring to know that we're not alone with this. But it's one foot in front of the other. Everyone goes at different paces. But it's about getting to the end that matters. How you do it is going to be different for everybody. And it's so important to really enjoy and celebrate that session.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that session and it gave you lots of good tips to help you grow your confidence, which I know will come as you're studying. I think Ola had a really good point in that session about never being afraid to ask questions. I think even if you're worried about what a question sounds like, if it makes sense, or if it might even sound silly, there's nothing wrong with asking those questions. I've experienced it myself when I was in a tutorial and I was thinking of my question and I was thinking, oh no, what will other people think? Will they think I don't know what I'm talking about or know what I'm doing? Or will they just think it's a really odd question? And then someone else ended up asking the question. So the likelihood is someone else is thinking it as well. And every question is a good question. In the OU, you'll always find someone supportive, whether you're asking questions to your student support team, in the forums, or to your own tutor. So I think Ola had some great advice in that session. I know that we are still a bit nervous, and that's always normal. It will change as our confidence changes. It won't go away. I think we're always nervous when we care about doing things that we want to and doing well. Michelle said, I was worried about how to approach my tutor, but really shouldn't have. He's really lovely. And I think you'll all find that the same. If you haven't heard from your tutor yet, but you've seen their details pop up on your student home, definitely just drop them an email, introduce yourself, let them know the reasons why you're studying maybe. And Sue found the same thing as well, just dropping an email, and she got a lovely response from her tutor. Kerry Ann actually had a great tip as well. There's a course on FutureLearn called Being an OU Student, and that's a great course to help you build your confidence and get an idea of some of the things. So that's something definitely to check out. And Sue's just talking about, I've been surprised at discovering my transferable skills. I never realized I could do some of them. A journey of self-discovery, which is always good. And that's the same when we're learning as well, I think. We don't realize how much we picked up or how much we know until we start talking with other people about it or putting it into practice. So sometimes you can think, oh, what am I getting out of this? Am I actually progressing? But actually, I think you'll find that you're doing a lot better than what you think. And we are our own worst critics. So sometimes when we do focus on one thing, we can forget other things, including looking after ourselves. Taking time to look after ourselves is really good for us personally, but it also helps in our study as well. So in this session, we looked at how we can stay well to study well. I think healthy eating is probably one of them. Now, I know in Wales, Welsh cakes do count as one of the 5 a day, but I'm still not convincing a lot of people with that. But we'll see what you think. Let me know in the chat. Do Welsh cakes count as one of your 5 a day? Do they help you stay well, to study well? Joining me in the chat for this session are Carol and Joan from the Faculty of Business and Law. You'll see their lovely faces on screen there. Let us know if you have any tips for staying well to study well. Let us know in the chat.
Our next session is Stay Well, Study Well, looking after yourself and your studies. And I'm joined by Emma Greenstein and Michelle Pride. Welcome both. So Emma has a background in counselling and has worked for the Open University for 30 years in a number of different roles. She's been a tutor, an educational advisor, and she also works as a mental health advisor for us, doing some wonderful work. And Michelle is our Head of Student Experience for the Faculty of Business and Law and is often involved in Student Hub Live events. So welcome both. So we're going to focus on well-being now. So I wondered if we might begin this session by thinking about what well-being means. What do we actually mean by this word, and how does that connect to our studies, Michelle?
Well, I like to think of well-being as being well, and it's about our whole human existence. It's about our body, it's about our mind. They are interconnected. So well-being is about looking after yourself. And I ask myself, am I eating well? Am I sleeping well? Am I exercising well? Am I hobbying well? You know, what are my hobbies? Am I doing them well? And so forth. So those are the kinds of questions that I like to ask myself, because everybody has well-being. And well-being, if you are feeling well, and you are well, you will study better. So you can approach your studies with an open mind and a positive attitude. But if you're not, if your well-being's not very good, you might think, oh, what a drag, I have to study, and you're not receiving anything. I'm sure we have all been there where we've read the same line 10 times and not understood what it has said because we haven't been taking care of ourselves. So it's really important that we do look after ourselves. And everybody has well-being regardless of whether or not you have a mental health condition. So you might have a diagnosed mental health condition that you are managing well and have really good well-being, or you might have no mental health condition and very poor well-being because you're not looking after yourself. You're putting all of your other priorities first, maybe. So it's really important that no matter where you are on this framework or spectrum of mental health and well-being, that if you start yourself going a little bit and you're not sure what to do, that you get help. You can ask our student support team, you can ask our tutor, and there are lots of other ways that we'll talk about today that you can make sure that your well-being is a positive thing.
Emma, I know when we've done workshops, you've often used various frameworks or ways of thinking about things. And I find these quite useful because often things like well-being can be quite ethereal. But you talk about 5 ways of well-being. And I think that those are quite useful. Can we work through some of those and tell students what they mean? And maybe if you want to write some of those down, it could be nice to do at home as well and think about what's going to work for you.
Yeah, of course. So it is about a blend of activities that kind of appeal to the different elements in life that we need to attend to. So the first one is connecting with others. Really, really important during this year and last year during the time of relative isolation during the lockdowns and the pandemic. We need to find ways every day or certainly every week to connect with other people in our lives who make us happy, we feel safe with, we feel stimulated by, good conversations. So that can be by telephone, online. Being here today is a way of connecting with others. So I'm hoping you're all getting a sense that you're not alone. There are lots of other students out there, lots of us members of staff to connect. So connecting with other members of the OU community, and you'll have so many opportunities to connect with other students on your module and across the university and within the Students' Association as well. So connecting with others, both OU related and within your personal lives and your community, is really important for well-being. Along with connecting with others, needing to be active every day. So doing something that's right for your level of fitness, maybe to develop your fitness, but actually physical activity, really good for mental well-being. There's such a connection between our bodies and our. So don't just sit at your desk working away all day. Get out there into the world, run up and down the stairs. I make sure I run up and down the stairs every hour. I look crazy, but that's what I do. So every hour, stretch, run up and down the stairs. For some people, it might be more gentle. It might be yoga, something like that. Have I frozen again?
Yeah, Emma, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's not
No
your
worries.
fault. It's the internet. It's just tricky, isn't it? Maybe I can go through some of these other ones with Michelle, but because I don't want people to miss some of the wonderful opportunities
please
here.
do.
Yes, but certainly do pop in with things. So we've covered this whole idea of connecting with other people and with places and things, and that's really important. Being active, being curious, and keeping learning. And I guess that's one thing that so many people will be doing now as they're starting their new modules. Not only learning new things, but also maybe learning how to, use new computer systems, using new pieces of software, using new ways of relating to a tutor or other peers. So there's lots and lots of learning that we may not always give ourselves credit for. And the other one that I really like, the last one on your list, is about giving. And so many of these models of well-being are about giving. Michelle, you are a very, very giving person, and you always give a lot of your time to other people, even though I know you actually don't have a lot of it, and you're off sick at the moment with a broken arm, and yet you're here. What does giving do in terms of making you feel better and looking after your own well-being? And when is it a good time to give, and maybe time to step away from things?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, we'll talk about this a little bit, but it's knowing yourself. And do you have the space, whether that's physical space or mental space or financial space or whatever it might be, to give? But there are lots of ways that you can give to people. Just smiling, just picking up the phone, just sending a text message. Or my friend recently sent me a card, a handmade card. Now that's her hobby, but it cheered me up immensely. So there are lots of different ways that we can give. And if actually new students, one of the great things that they can do is they can get involved with the Students Association. And the OU Students Association has a volunteer page. And there's lots of ways that they can go, so you as students can go and volunteer. And I think that's great because, yes, it's about helping others and also helping yourself at the same time. I think, when you're feeling down, it's very easy to get lost within yourself, and giving to other people really helps you feel better. And of course, it helps the other people too. So.
This whole notion, I think, around COVID right now, and for so many of us being furloughed or maybe having less of a structure, means that, our routines can be really, really thrown out of kilter. And for some people, this has been really hard. I know you, Michelle, have struggled with this also because, being poorly and being physically unwell has meant that you've been sleeping a lot, and that's just thrown all sorts of things over the place. But routine is really important. And I wonder if you can say a bit about that from your experience, Michelle, and Emma, maybe if you can say something then about why that is known to be so important.
Yes, Karen, we talk about hygiene factors, and one of those hygiene factors for me is having a routine. And you might talk about sleep hygiene, and I've really struggled with this, as you know. In January, I seem to either be sleeping too much or conversely not sleeping enough. So, the other night I went to bed, it was 1 a.m. I was pleased with myself, but 4:45, I'm still lying there wide awake with all these thoughts going through my head. So it is really important that we do have a balance, that we do have a daily routine so that we can give ourselves a sense of achievement. And by having a daily routine, that also forces you to stay connected with other people if you build it into your routine. So it's really important that you have the opportunity to connect with other people and feel close as part of your routine. And then also we've spoken about the balance. And I said when I started, about your sleep time, about your eating time, your exercise time, your socializing time, your family time. Obviously, you've got work time. Well, not everybody has work time, but a lot of people have work time. So having that daily routine that involves a balance of activities really does help you feel better. It helps you with your mood, and it helps you just have more of a sense of pleasure. Because it's very easy to fall. When I know when I fell out of a routine with my broken arm and the surgery, oh my gosh, I was beside myself some days, Karen, as you know. So it's really important to have that routine to make yourself feel like a human being. I think it's really important to that. And that comes back to that being well, doesn't it? It's that whole balance of all those things so that you can feel well and you can study well. It's very exciting time of year. People listening are starting on a new adventure with their studies, which is really exciting, and that ticks a lot of the boxes that Emma talked about with learning and being curious and being active and connecting. So you're already, and I mean, giving can be helping another student who might be struggling with a concept. So you can do all of those things that Emma talked about, the 5 ways to well-being, just by starting out on your studies. And I would say build in a routine for your studies as well. Make sure you have a plan for when you are going to study. And that's really helpful. It's really important that you try and stick that plan. But I think, Emma will agree with me. At the end of the day, it's really important that you are gentle or kind with yourself. And you have to forgive yourself if you fall out of a routine, and just remind yourself, I know what I can do. I can get back into a routine. Tomorrow is another day.
Well, luckily, Michelle, this is all recorded, and I'm going to play that back to you later so that you're not too hard on yourself because it is hard, isn't it, to have that advice. Emma, tell us a little bit about this balance between things, because it's important that routine isn't just all the good stuff or the bad stuff. It's not just a big Netflix fest, is it? What are some of the things that are important to balance?
Yeah, absolutely. There are three things that we need to be balancing every day, really, to maintain that well-being. So every day we need to be doing something that helps us move towards our goals, a sense of achievement. So ticking things off our list, moving towards doing some reading or work towards an assignment. So something that gives us a sense of achievement every day is important. We also need every day that gives us a sense to others. And so we're not becoming isolated and just really bogged down with our work. And every day it's important to do something just for pleasure, to relax, for fun, to release from any pressures that you may be experiencing. Now, obviously, in the lead up to a deadline, you may be focusing more on the working towards achievement, or you may be losing yourself in procrastination and lying on the sofa watching box sets. And the guilt will build up if that happens for you. So it's important every day to not beat up on yourself, as Michelle said, be really kind, but think, okay, maybe today I spent too long on Netflix, and tomorrow I really am going to motor on with my work. And actually, I haven't spoken to my friend for 3 days, so I'm going to build in time for a quick phone call. So it's about reviewing every day what works for you and trying to make some tweaks. Little tweaks make big changes when it comes to balance. And so over the week as a whole, have you tick the boxes of achievement, connection, and doing things for pleasure? Really super important.
Absolutely. So often we just forget those things that are really pleasurable, and sometimes they don't even have to be big things. They can just be something little that makes you feel happy, and it just sort of pays dividends, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm all for multitasking. So actually, for me, a phone call to my best friend for half an hour is for pleasure and it's connection. So that's my pleasure and connection ticked off for the day.
Thinking then about a lot of this stuff. So we've got these balancing of activities and things, but we also know that some times of the day we're very alert. So I'm really, really best in the mornings, and then nighttime not so much. So if I have to think really hard about something, I know that there's a better time to do it than other times. How do we work with our energy levels, and how do we sort of keep ourselves motivated with those sorts of things? We've heard advice before, like coffee, but then I was told that wasn't such a good idea all the time. She says, hiding the coffee cup.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, Karen. That we are all subconsciously all the time trying to shift our energy levels or reduce our tension. We're not even aware of it a lot of the time. But you're absolutely right. There'll be times of the day when you're more alert, more energetic than others. So it's about learning and experimenting. When you feel at your most energetic, and trying to match the activities you need to do to the times of the day when you can be most focused and energetic. And it's interesting to notice what you can do to try and raise those energy levels beyond reaching for a bar of chocolate and a cup of coffee, things that will boost your energy without having the crash at the other side. So somebody mentioned going for a run. You know, I run up and down the stairs, a quick walk around the garden, get some fresh air, and then come back and you'll find your energy levels perhaps have been raised. There'll be other times of the day when you might feel a little bit tired and tense and lethargic. So it's sometimes about finding activities that you can do to reduce tension and raise energy. So I'd be interested to know what people do. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful creative ways that we can either reduce our tension or raise our energy. So I've heard of people, you know, doing some power dancing, you know, headphones on, music up, and dancing around the house like nobody's watching. Not best if you're trying to unwind at the end of the day, but if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you want to raise those energy levels, you might want to try that. So yeah, it's about just being aware of your natural cycles of energy and fatigue, and experimenting with healthy things that you can do to lift your mood, raise your spirits, and boost your energy when you need that extra boost to plow on.
Michelle, what do you do to reduce your tension?
Well, I would like to say that I eat Welsh cakes, but actually, no. For me, it really is about clearing my head. So absolutely, I can't run, but I can go out and take a walk. So that's really important. And that helps me relax, and it raises my energy levels. And I also do quite a bit of yoga and stretching and Pilates. And I find that I'm always energized after that. And then trying to calm down and cool myself down before going to bed, I'll do some gentle stretching as well. So not the vigorous stretching that I do if I take a Pilates class or a yoga class, but at the end of the night, just some gentle being aware of your body and your toes, and just working your way through your body and being aware. That really helps, just kind of gives your focus to yourself and centers you and helps you feel calmer as well. But fresh air is always a great idea, and drink lots of water.
Emma, can we end by talking about Together All, which is a service that students have got? So if we just show students what this website's like, and just tell them about the resource, then I know students have lots of tabs open because they're super at multitasking, and HJ can put the link in the chat. But very, very briefly, because we're nearly, we're out of time.
Yeah, sure. So Together All, bit of a mouthful to say, but Together All is an online mental health and wellbeing service that all of our students can access free of charge. Then there are the courses that people can take, and the courses can help you with managing difficult emotions, coping with bereavement and loss, dealing with depression and anxiety. A whole range of courses you can take. And then there are the resources which include self-assessment tests. So if you are concerned that you're becoming consumed with worries and becoming anxious, you may want to do a self-assessment test, which will then direct you to other resources and sources of support. So check it out, and the details will be on this site afterwards.
Brilliant. That's absolutely wonderful. And it's 24/7. And as you say, managed by counsellors. So there's lots that you can do to either self-evaluate whether you want to take anything further, but also know that there are many others available to connect with. So thank you both so much. It's been a really lovely session.
Well, I am glad I've got lots of agreement that Welsh cakes do count as your 5 a day. I am very pleased. Bethan agrees with me. And Jemima says they must be, as they're little of what you enjoy. So they're very good for helping us to stay well and study well, which is fantastic. So there's a lot that we talked about in that session about different strategies and things we can do to help us stay well and study well. And it may be the case that you may have picked out one thing from the session that you might like to try, or you might have written something down that you might try later on. It's not something we all have to try and do at once. Wellbeing is always more of a journey than something that just happens overnight. So a lot of people talked about in the chat about what they do to help them stay well, and it's great to get all these ideas and hear what works for you. So Carol says study followed by a little reward is always very good motivation, and I absolutely agree. Rewarding yourself after a TMA is absolutely essential. Lauren treats herself to a nice long hot bath with salts and bath bombs. Elizabeth agrees connections here are so valuable, particularly with the world we're living in with coronavirus. And I absolutely agree. Chances to speak to other people, whether it's fellow students, family, or friends, definitely help towards our well-being. Sue likes to do a tick list of things she wants to achieve in each study session. Big ticks makes us feel good. If we don't finish our list, that's okay. It's our next day's list and we've got a head start on it all. Anne says walking with friends is essential for me. In terms of tools that we like to use, Jemima likes to use mind maps. They're not for all of us, but whatever works for you. And that's what wellbeing is about, what helps us and works for us the best. Carrie Ann suffers with depression and some days wonders what she can do, but actually doing the Open University course helps her control her emotions, which is fantastic because your Open University course could be part of your journey on to well-being. And what I definitely agree with is what Joan said. Hugging a cat or a dog is therapeutic. I know before in Student Hub, we've talked about our study buddies, our study animals that help us, or sometimes we have the strategy of talking to our animals about what we're doing. I know my dog is very knowledgeable when it comes to international relations. I'm sure if he could speak, he'd tell a lot of people about it, but I'm sure when he looks at me, he always looks somewhat interested. And Beverly says, I have chronic pain and fatigue, and dancing helps. I know we've had a Student Hub Live session where we did have a dance off and it was absolutely fantastic. So maybe you can join us again for one of our future sessions and we'll run another dance off. I know everyone will definitely enjoy it. So in these sessions, we talked a lot about resources that could help us. And there's a lot we mentioned in the chat as well. If you go to our website, studenthub.open.ac.uk, you'll find everything we talked about, because like I said, it's not well-being is a journey. It's not something we come straight to. So you might think of something that you want to try out later on, and you can see everything on the website. Now, what I'm most pleased about is that Sue's never had a Welsh cake, and she's now on a mission to find them. So if that's the best thing that came out of this session, I'm very happy about that. But it's nice to see we all have our own thoughts and strategies about how we can look after ourselves to do the best in our study. And I know we will do well. So do make sure to go on our website. There's all our upcoming events on there. There's lots more Student Hub Live planned, from workshops to live sessions, and we'd love to see you again. You can sign up to our newsletter on our website as well, so you'll be the first to know as soon as we announce our new sessions. You'll also see resources not only from the sessions we've spoken about today, but also all the other sessions. And you can also catch up on our sessions on our YouTube channel as well. So if you want to revisit anything yourself, you can do so. It was great to hear from Nick this morning with his words of encouragement. And we all know everyone will do well in their studies. And I'd like to thank everyone that's joined us in the chat today that we saw on the videos as well. So I'd like to thank Jamie, Tammy, Mark, Leanne, Catherine, Rachel and Jackie, who've been a fantastic help and have given us lots of ideas and tips and resources. Do remember to check out the career service. That's very helpful any time along your study journey. If you're thinking about changing careers, updating your CV, making an application, there's loads of great tips and advice. And as always, the Open University Library has lots of great sessions themselves. So do check them out if you want help with updating your knowledge about referencing or doing research. The library and the career service are always there throughout your study journey, so definitely check them out. And I'd just like to, before we finish, say give a little thank you to everyone who's helped me set up this session today. So Vanessa, Andrew and Angela, thank you so much. I couldn't have done it without you, and I hope everyone in the chat enjoyed. So I can't wait to see you again soon. I hope you've got a lot out today, and good luck with your studies.